Dear Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for the invitation to this great conference. I am proud to speak on behalf of the German Association of Development Non-Governmental Organizations, called FENRO, an organization with more than 100 members of civil society, all of them striving for the realization of children's rights worldwide. Our goal today is to identify ways for sustainable eradication of child labor with a special focus on its worst forms. To reach this goal, I would like to highlight the following 4 aspects. First of all, we have to be aware that we deal with different types of child labor that make different approaches necessary. The worst forms have to be eliminated immediately, according to the ILO conventions and the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child. But there are also other forms of child labor that need a differentiated approach. Children that work under non-hazardous conditions often show us that a simple ban is not the right way. As long as their families are poor and need help, they want to help. At the same time, they claim their right to education, protection, and health. In Latin America and West Africa, they even claim for their right to work and to unite in trade unions. Thus, we have to find individual solutions, focusing on the rights, well-being, and best interest of each single child. None of them will solve the problem overnight, but until child labor is banned, approaches like moving children from the worst forms of child labor to non-hazardous forms, offering decent work conditions, or even in classes, will help them to realize some of their rights. Simultaneously, it is important to improve their capacities and life skills, which will help to realize children's rights and overcome all forms of child labor in the long run. Secondly, child labor is not an isolated phenomenon. It is caused by the economic and social poverty facing the children and their families. We need a political, socio-economic, and legal framework on the national and international level that tackles the root causes of working children and provides decent work opportunities for adults, good educational and health systems, social protection, living wages, and elaborate legal framework to realize children's rights. Thirdly, let's put the finger in the wound and focus more on those aspects that have been neglected so far. This includes the effective implementation of the UN guiding principles on business and human rights, as well as the situation of vulnerable children, domestic labor, child labor along global value chains, and the informal economy, where most exploitative labor is found. Fourthly, despite all the negative aspects we associate with child labor, it does show that children are able to be a responsibility. Anyone wishing to combat child labor can learn from these children. Instead of having to be their great lords, they could make a huge contribution towards solving the problem they face in their societies and countries. Successful programs are those in which children and adults work side by side to find ways of avoiding exploitation, those which facilitate children's rights to education and health care, and which incorporate both families and the social environment to constantly keep our vision of conquering child labor all over the world in focus. But most of these children live in rural areas, and they are not online. They did not have the chance to participate in these online dialogues in the forefront of this conference. Thus, let's invite them to participate in the next global conference on child labor. Here in Brasilia, we have a unique chance to agree on the next steps. Let's go for it. Thank you.
Obrigado.